As you might know, Star Wars Squadrons got a gameplay trailer this Thursday during EA Play, and I myself liked the gameplay. And how the trailer did more than just show gameplay. They broke also down the game a bit into parts and talked about it in a good, informative way. Not as much as you would 100% like, but enough to make you know what the game was about. I think more trailers and newly announced games should do this in their trailers. I did not want to talk about the trailer that much because so many channels were doing that already, and I didn't have much to add to that. Instead, I watched a few videos and I heard the question, is this multiplayer game mode gonna, or multiplayer fleet battle mode gonna be like the capital supremacy mode in Star Wars Battlefront 2, where two opposite sides never really get the advantage and it just goes back and forward between them and the mode continues on for 2 hours or possibly more. And let me rephrase and back up a bit. Fleet Battle, for those who doesn't know, is a mode in this new Star Wars Squadrons game where two teams of player or solo slash group of players versus AI battle in three different phases. First phase is just a dogfight, and the second phase is to take the medium-sized capital ships of your enemy's flagship, take them out, destroy them. And there seems to be two of them, and the third phase is, you guessed it, take out the flagship. Capital Supremacy in Battlefront 2 works about the same ways, in case you don't know, except that it's a ground battle in the first phase, and then it's a second phase and a third phase to destroy the flagship. But this is also done on solid ground? Well, solid metal plates on a ship, to be more accurate, but no ships in this, is what I'm trying to say. The problem with these phases is that if two teams are about equally good, it's kind of even in the game. It can go back and forward in these phases where one team wins phase one and then they really can't break through to complete phase two, and the other team can't really break through to the first the team's phase two either, so they're stuck basically. This can turn an ordinary 15 minutes match to a full hour and even more. This is one of the worries, especially for people who has played Battlefront 2. And as I was wondering over this question, two things came to mind. My first thought is more of a reality check, or whatever you want to call it. Uh, this game takes place in space. It's very three-dimensional. There aren't exactly any tight corridors you can block off that easily, as it is in Battlefront 2 during the second and third phase with the corridors on a ship. Plus, the targets aren't exactly small, they are quite literally spaceship sized. So, at the same time as you need to attack, defending a ship sized target isn't exactly easy. Not even with turrets and mines that you can utilize. I imagine because, as I said, it's a very three-dimensional space, so turrets and mines do have a range. So, can they block off an entire capital ship? Maybe, but as for the flagship, that might be a bit too big. Then again, you can see by this image here that you have two mines. One is turret mine, which is most likely the turret we saw in the trailer. And we also have the Seeker mine. The name makes me think that these mines seeks a target out after it is deployed and probably waits for an enemy signature to come close, and it will fly towards the target. This makes it good at defending something, as I said, maybe the smaller capital ships, but at most only 5 can be deployed from what we know, because these are like abilities and you have only 5 players in one squad, so only 5 can be deployed, which is not a bad number, but the question is if you will be able to destroy mines and turrets as well. Maybe there are more on a timer that will then make them disappear after a short while. I imagine though that they will be destroyable, both turrets and mines, but can you see them? What I'm trying to say with this long rant is that I wouldn't be too surprised if matches were very rarely goes over 30 minutes, depending on how hard the capital ships and flagships are to destroy, depending on their health and armor and so on, you know. And of course, depending on your team. Are you going for the objective or yeah, you know, some people just goes for the kills. Moving on. Yeah, so that was the reality check. Now over to my solution that the developers could do. But I'm not sure this is a good solution because it could make both consoles and PCs, depending on how good your PC, of course, to have to work harder. I'm not a expert on that. Maybe one of you viewers could know would could maybe knows more about this and put your thoughts down in the comments about this. But here's my solution. Well, solution if it works. In theory, it could be work. It could work. So my solution is a all-out space battle because from what we've seen, there is only one flagship and two capital ships in the fight, plus the squadrons, enemy squadrons, your 5 people, the 5 players on your team and the 5 players or AI on the opposite team. Now, my idea for this is an all-out space battle where reinforcement from both sides, Empire and New Republic, comes to help. Now, as I said, there is the flagship, 2 capital ships, and of course the enemy team. If a battle would take too long, maybe I'm thinking maybe 30 or 45 minutes, somewhere around that. Image reinforcement from both sides will come and start firing on the enemy ships, as you can see on the picture. Taking their life down. The reinforcement ships are only big ships like capital ships and flagships, and will have no squadrons of fighters to come. The reinforcement ships will fire on the capital ships first, and when the capital ships are destroyed, they will start firing on the flagship, just like you do as fighters. You target the flagship capital ships first and then the flagship. Both sides gets reinforcement and they do equal amounts of damage. So what matters is how much damage your team will have done to these ships before reinforcement arrives. But with that said, of course, your fight doesn't just end when the reinforcement comes. It doesn't. It's not just the reinforcement who will be firing and you can't do anything. The reinforcement does enough damage to be noticed on the ship's health, but it's up to you and your team to help them. But remember that you will need to defend your own ships against the enemy team, because they will probably want to do the same thing you do. Win. The reinforcement ships can't be damaged, or this is just an idea. Uh, at least if you destroy a reinforcement ship, let's say a capital ship, that ship won't count towards the phase that you're on, because if you need to destroy the 2 capital ships on the enemy team, this reinforcement capital ship won't count towards that. You will still need to destroy the 2 original capital ships. And the reinforcement ship that your team took down could be replaced after maybe half a minute or something. It might buy you some time, but attacking your enemy's ships should be a bit well, attacking your enemy ships, in other words, help your reinforcement or defend your capital ship and flagship might be better time spent, I think. Defending your ships is of course where turrets and mines comes in. As for how much damage these inflict, we will just have to wait and find out. With a good someone is good at defending, I guess you could have, if everyone has a mine that they place around capital ships and maybe 2 players or 2 or 3 players go off to fight the enemy and their ships and 2 or 3 stay behind and defend. Now implementing this into the game, I don't think it would be too hard. A cutscene could do the reinforcement phase active, like you see the ships coming out of hyperspace and they start attacking on both sides, both the Empire ship and the New Republic ship. But considering that 4 new ships comes in with turrets blasting, and it could have an impact on both computers and consoles. Question is if they could take it without problems. I mean, could the consoles and PC have that phase evolve that much without taking too much of a hit to the performance? But then again, if my reality check is correct, we have nothing to worry about, right? I hope. Now, that was my idea, and as for the game release, it releases on the 2nd of October this year, and it's coming to PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Many are also speculating that it might come to PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. But that's not all. If you need another reason to get this game, the full game is available to play in VR on both PC and PlayStation 4. And you don't need to worry, VR is just not a gimmick of the game. The game was developed with VR in mind. And with all that said, do you have any thoughts on what I've said and my idea? What do you think of the idea? Could something be tweaked, maybe? Put your own thoughts down in the comments. I've been Swippy92, have a great life, and I hope to see you in your future videos. Red92, out.